Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please, let's welcome Brother Ali Rashahine for a short Quran recitation, inshallah, with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. له ملك السماوات والأرض يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. هو الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش يعلم ما يلج في الأرض وما يخرج منها وما ينزل من السماء وما يعرج فيها وهو معكم أينما كنتم والله بما تعملون بصير. له ملك السماوات والأرض وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. يولج الليل في النهار ويولج النهار في الليل وهو عليم بذات الصدور. آمنوا بالله ورسوله وأنفقوا مما جعلكم مستخلفين فيه فالذين آمنوا منكم وأنفقوا لهم أجر كبير. وما لكم لا تؤمنون بالله والرسول يدعوكم لتؤمنوا بربكم وقد أخذ ميثاقكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. هو الذي ينزل على عبده آيات بينات ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور وإن الله بكم لرؤوف رحيم. وما لكم ألا تنفقوا في سبيل الله ولله ميراث السماوات والأرض لا يستوي منكم من أنفق من قبل الفتح وقاتل أولئك أعظم درجة من الذين أنفقوا من بعد وقاتلوا وكلا وعد الله الحسنى والله بما تعملون خبير. من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا فيضاعف له وله أجر كريم. يوم ترى المؤمنين والمؤمنات يسعى نورهم بين أيديهم وبأيمانهم بشراكم اليوم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ذلك هو الفوز العظيم. يوم يقول المنافقون والمنافقات للذين آمنوا انظرونا نقتبس من نوركم قيل ارجعوا وراءكم فالتمسوا نورا فضرب بينهم بسور له باب باطنه فيه الرحمة وظاهره من قبله العذاب. ينادونهم ألم نكن معكم قالوا بلى ولكنكم فتنتم أنفسكم وتربصتم وارتبتم وغرتكم الأماني حتى جاء أمر الله وغركم بالله الغرور. فاليوم لا يؤخذ منكم فدية ولا من الذين كفروا ومأواكم النار هي مولاكم وبئس المصير. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على البشير النذير والسراج المنير سيدنا ومولانا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات. Let's begin with Al-Fatiha for our believing brothers, sisters and martyrs, especially our recent loss, Haji Subhi Ahmed Aase, after a loud salawat. The death of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is a death of honor and dignity. In the words of Shaykh Moutaz rahimahullah, Imam Hussein alayhi salam sacrificed everything in the way of safeguarding this institution and enforcing it. The Imam gave a more sober meaning to the death in this cause. The Imam alayhi salam often recited a line of poetry en route in his fateful journey to Karbala, and it goes like this: despite the fact that this life is sweet and beautiful, yet the next life is sweeter and more beautiful. Since in the end, man will leave behind after death all his worldly possessions, the good comes out of giving away one's wealth and good causes, instead of hoarding it. By the same token, since the human body would turn to dust after death, why should not man die a sweet and honorable death? Thus dying with the sword in the cause of God is much greater and lovelier. Sayyid al-Qa'id says in a lecture of his, this is the reason for the greatness of Karbala martyrs. They did not fear the greatness of the enemy because of a sense of duty, which was jihad in the path of God and the religion. They were not terrified by being alone. They did not seize on the excuse of being few in numbers to escape from the enemy. This is what brings greatness to a person, a leader, and a nation, not fearing the phony greatness of the enemy. Remember, my dear brothers and sisters, the dark world enlightens when we serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His awliya. May our lives be sacrificed for you, Ya Hussein, because you are the lamp of guidance and your ship of salvation is more spacious and faster. Now I would like to introduce Shiekh Moutaz with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين المقهورين المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعلها الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، يا غريب يا مظلوم، يا شهيد كربلاء. ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم. روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمك الفداء. On the night of the Ashab of Al-Hussein alayhi salam, let's send our salams to the companions of Al-Hussein. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحبائه. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأودائه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الناصح. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. قال تعالى في محكم التنزيل بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Let's work on our salawat before we get started tonight inshallah. ثانية على حب الزهراء. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Holy Quran, in the verse we opened up with, Surah Al-Imran, verse 110, "You are the best of nations raised up for the benefit of men," or "You are the best of nations raised up amongst men. You enjoin what is right and forbid the wrong and believe in Allah Azza wa Jal." Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. Continuing on our theme from last night, just a very brief recap. Last night we explained the ripple effects, that when we oppress ourselves, this oppression causes a ripple effect and will cause us to oppress our families. And we discussed a couple of types of oppression that we can oppress our families with. And we said that the greatest oppression that we oppress our families with is by not giving them an Islamic upbringing and not embedding in them Islamic morals and Islamic identity and not embedding in them an Islamic value. This oppression, when I oppress my family, also has a ripple effect. If you remember last night, we said that society consists of what? Several families. Ahsant. So when I've oppressed this family, and this family unit is now corrupt, and now society is made up of corrupted family units, I'm going to end up with what sort of a society? Corrupted society. By oppressing myself, and then this oppression overflowing onto my family, and now I've corrupted my family and oppressed them, I've done what now? I have oppressed and corrupted society. It's a snowball effect. Starts with oneself and goes to a global scale. The greatest oppression that we have against society, and there are several oppressions. I'm not going to talk about the akhlaq we are supposed to have with our neighbors. Inshallah, most of you already know the type of akhlaq we need to have with our neighbors, the akhlaq we need to have with people of our town, the akhlaq that we need to have with the greater society in general, the Muslim, the non-Muslim alike. I'm going to focus on a particular oppression. The greatest oppression that we do against society is when we abandon a wajib that Allah Azza wa Jal has imposed upon us. And that is the wajib of, the obligation of al-amr bil-ma'roof wal-nahy anil-munkar, enjoining good and forbidding evil. See, Allah Azza wa Jal in the verse we open up with is saying to us that you, O Ummah, you are the best nation which has risen amongst men. I've created you to be the best of nations. But there's a condition. When do you become the best of nations? تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. You enjoin good and you forbid evil. And then Allah Azza wa Jal says after, وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ, and you believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala equates in this verse enjoining good and forbidding evil with what? With believing in Allah Azza wa Jal. Unfortunately, because we live in these lands and these blessed lands which have welcomed us and given us great comforts and freedoms and have accepted us as their own. However, being a Muslim, there are certain things that the ideologies which have been rampant in these lands, they don't mix with us, yeah? They don't fit in with us. Individualism, which is taught to us in the West, right? We are taught to be individuals, correct? And it sounds all honky-dory and fine. When they put it forward to us, when they teach us it, when they promote this ideology, they say it in a manner which sounds great, that you work on yourself. This is what capitalist mentality is. The individual needs to work on himself. And as long as you work on yourself and you excel and you exceed and you prosper, even at the expense of others and society, that's fine. Because if everybody did that, we all rise. This is how, in a nutshell, capitalism works. This is what they teach us. And they even promote this from a very early stage. They promote this in our schools. So those of you who went to school here in Canada or in the United States or in Australia or in the UK, you'll see that at school, you're given your own desk, your own individual desk, if you went to a public school, okay? You're given your own individual desk, and you're told that this is your desk and this is your locker, and you're responsible for the maintenance and cleanliness of your desk and your locker. Go to Islamic countries, like the Islamic Republic, yeah, when you go to school, you're not sitting at an individual desk. You're sitting on a desk with at least another 2, 3, 4 people, and everyone's in charge and responsible for the cleanliness and maintenance of the classroom. In most socialist countries, it's 2 sitting on a desk. And this stems from the political ideology which has been adopted by the nation which you live in. This individualism has taught us to live by a particular philosophy. And this philosophy is, and most of you probably, inshallah, don't live by it, but have heard it. Each to their own, right? You've heard this, okay? Each to their own. Leave me alone. Let me do what I want to do. You do what you want to do. As long as I'm not impeding on your rights and you're not impeding on mine, I don't care. I'm fine. It's all good. Okay? And you may think that this speaks to you as a human being, that this is being respectful of your identity as a person and your personal space. That, yeah, I don't want anyone to be involved in my business. No one told me what to do and I won't tell anyone else what to do. The problem with this philosophy is that it refuses to recognize that society is made out of individuals, right? If we say that society is built up from the family unit, and the family unit is made out of individuals, okay? It doesn't address the natural human tendency to be social beings. By nature, we are social creatures. We have always been social creatures. From the beginning of time up until today, we live in units. We either live in tribes or mobs or villages, and then we went on to be towns and cities and nations. But we live together. We live collectively, hand in hand. And Allah Azza wa Jal, through the Holy Quran, when He speaks to us, we notice that the tone of Allah Azza wa Jal is collective. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu. O you who believe, Allah is saying. Ya ayyuhan nas. O people. This is how Allah addresses. Rarely does He address the individual. Maybe when He is addressing a particular person or the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alih. But the common theme in the Holy Quran is Allah Azza wa Jal speaks to mankind collectively, speaks to the believers collectively. And we see this flow into our jurisprudence. Which is more mustahab? Answer me. To pray alone or to pray in jama'ah? To pray alone or to pray in jama'ah? Ahsan. Which is more mustahab? To pray at home or to pray in the masjid? Ahsan. Why? You see, the West taught us that religion is a private affair. Do it in your own homes. Sit down and pray and worship and ponder on God and don't get involved in anything else. Leave everybody else alone. This is what they taught us. Allah Azza wa Jal says no. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I want you as a human family, as a society, to collectively come towards me together. So He gave precedence for Salatul Jama'ah. And He favored praying in the masjid above praying at home. And He favored dua collectively than the individual dua. And encouraged us to perform Hajj. Muslims from all over the world to gather together at the same time and be present at the same place. And He said to us, it is makruh for you to spend the night alone at home in an empty house. And that it is mustahab to sit down and have food and eat together with people. And the more people that eat with you, the better. These are the laws of Islam. And over again, Allah Azza wa Jal is showing us that I don't want you to be individuals in the sense that you as an individual isolate yourself and segregate yourself from the rest of society. I want you to be an ummah. I want you to be a nation. I want you to come together collectively, hand in hand with one another. So the concept of amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar, enjoining good and forbidding evil, naturally when we take it and place it together with this philosophy that Islam does not promote individualism, that Islam looks at us as one unit, when we place it hand in hand with this philosophy, we understand that amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar, and this is according to all of our fuqaha, all of our maraja, from the beginning of tashayyu' until today. Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar is not an option. It's not something that's mustahab, you can do if you want to or if you have time. It's not like Salatul Layl, although we should be performing Salatul Layl as often as possible. No. Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar is a wajib. It's like your salat. It's like fasting in the month of Ramadan. It's like going to Hajj. It's an obligation. You must. It is such an important obligation that on his deathbed, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, it is one of the last wasiyas, it is one of the last pieces of advice he gives his son al-Hasan alayhi salam. And he encourages Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam to he himself uphold good and forbid evil, and encourage others to uphold good and forbid evil. Otherwise, he says what? Otherwise it will lead to the most rotten and wretched amongst you being your leaders, and the best amongst you being their servants. Because if we just let people go about doing what they want to do, this is what happens. This is what happens. Now let's draw a closer picture so we can understand where we're coming from. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When I've raised, and I mentioned this last night very briefly, and now I'm just going to extend on that example, inshallah. When I've raised a son, one of the brothers asked me tonight if I'm going to talk about the idiot box. If I've raised a son, myself and the idiot box together have raised him. And this son is now a delinquent, He's a fool, he's a troublemaker, because I've left him his whole life. Each to their own. Leave my son alone. I haven't raised him well. And people come and tell me, listen, your son is acting up. He's about 8, 9 years old now. He's acting up. You need to pull him up. I say, it's not your business. Don't tell me how to raise my kids. I'll raise my son the way I want to. We hear this in our societies and communities, right? Leave me alone. It's none of your business. It's my kid. Then he gets to the age of 14, 15, and now his delinquency is gone from just being plain annoying. Now my son is like this petty criminal. La samahallah, maybe he's a thief. He's got no morals. He's got a foul mouth. He's swearing. He gets to about 19, 20. He's now doing drugs. He's drinking. And everyone is telling me, your son, you need to pull him up. And I told him, it's none of your business. Leave him alone. As long as he's not hurting anybody. Right? He's not hurting anyone. Leave him alone. Whose business is it? When does it become a problem for society? Because brothers, sisters, we all live together, right? We go to the same schools, we attend the same markaz, the same masjid, we go to the same supermarkets, a lot of us are related, We can't detach from one another. Our lives are intertwined, okay? So growing up in this community, my son has now grown up in this community, and what's he gone and done? This fool has said some silly words to your daughter, and now your daughter's fallen in love with my son. Your nice, pure daughter who you've looked after and you've raised properly. But now she's gone and fallen in love with my delinquent son. Now my idiot son is your problem. He's your problem, right? Because we all know in Canada and in Sydney and in the UK, when your daughter wants a kid, she wants him, Like she's gonna run you up the wall, right? My kid's your problem now. And vice versa. Let's flip it the other way around. You've done the same to the daughter. You haven't raised her properly, etc., etc. And she's a problem. She's a troubled child. And now my son has fallen in love with her. And he wants her. Now your daughter's my problem. We are each other's problems. We can't detach from one another. If we were to apply the philosophy, if Allah Azza wa Jal intended for us to live in this manner, each to their own, He would have never sent a messenger. Not one prophet. Not Adam, not Nuh, not Ibrahim, not Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. None. What for? Each to their own. Leave everybody alone. There'd be no need for Imam Al-Hujjah Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif to come and reform society, because each to their own. I'll go to God and this is my problem, I'll deal with God later. No, this isn't how it works. This is how we destroy societies. This is how societies have been destroyed. This individualism that capitalism has brought upon the world has destroyed societies. Has destroyed society and is continuing to destroy society as we see it today. Before our eyes, look what's happening. We've reached the point of social madness, collectively as mankind. We've lost the plot. I guarantee you our forefathers are looking down on us and saying, what the hell, what's going on? We went from 2 genders to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, and now, Allahu Akbar. Honest, we have an identity crisis. Our youth have an identity crisis. And here I address those who are in charge of masajid and Husainiyat and Marakis like this blessed markaz here. You have a responsibility here. Stop being so afraid. Speak up against this. If we continue to be silent in the face of this social oppression, we are going to lose our youth. Here now, tonight, we have one divider between males and females. Who knows, next year, Muharram might have 5, 6 dividers. Male, female, non-binary, pan, I don't know what, yeah? There might be some all night jumping in between depending on how they feel. Wallah, this is the truth. This is what individualism is saying to us. Be who you want to be. Do whatever you want to do. It's driven the world to the point of absolute insanity. And in the corrupted filth, which is their ideology and philosophy, the human being is identified solely by his sexuality. That's all you are. That's what you're identified by. That is what you are identified by. That's who you are. That's who they made you. They said to you, you are whatever your sexuality is. This is who you are. Is that what they've brought the human being down to? Khalifatullah ala al-ard. When Allah Azza wa Jal first created you and I, when He created our father Adam salamullahi alayh, Allah Azza wa Jal created him with the greatest of intentions. He created him with the most important of missions. He announced him to the angels and said, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. I have created this Adam to be my representative, the representative of Allah on earth. To carry the message of Allah on earth. And this corrupted system of Taghut has brought you down and driven you below the surfaces of dignity and trampled on your personality and identity and said to you, you are only what your sexuality is. What your animalistic desires are, this is what draws your identity. They have thrown you down from the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal. Brothers, sisters, believe me when I say this. Wallahi, this is the advice, this is the words of our Imams alayhim salam. We are supposed to be greater than the angels of Allah Azza wa Jal. Did you know that? How great are the angels of Allah? How great is Jibreel and Mikael and Israfil and the angels that carry the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Azza wa Jal says to these angels in all of their greatness and all of their glory and all of their purity and nur, He commands these angels to do what? Prostrate to Adam alayhi salam. Prostrate to my father and your father. Prostrate to mankind. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, Al-malaika khuddamu shi'atan. The angels are the servants of our Shia. Mikael, Jibrail, Israfil are supposed to be your servants. You are the masters of these angels. Do not let this taghut bring you down to anything less than that. You carry within you the light of the first light of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. From his nur all things were created, including you. Do not turn this nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi into basic animal desires. This is the lowest form of existence that they want you to be. Don't let them convince you that in order for society to progress, you must progress alone, by yourself. So many examples we have in the Holy Quran. We have a verse in the Holy Quran, and I'm paraphrasing here because the verse is not present off the top of my head. Unfortunately, I forgot my notes at home. We have a verse in the Holy Quran where Allah Azza wa Jal warns the believers. He warns them. He says to them, fear a chastisement which does not only reach the wrongdoers. When they ask Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam about this verse, say to him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, what is this chastisement? And why isn't it limited to the wrongdoers? What's Allah saying here? What's Allah saying here? The Imam Salamullahi alayhi, he says at the time of one of the prophets of Banu Israel, Allah Azza wa Jal, there was a town that this prophet was sent to, and in this town there were 40,000. 30,000 of them were wrongdoers. 30,000 of them were evil. 10,000 believers. These 10,000 believers adopted the policy of each to their own. Leave them alone. Don't worry about it. So what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? When He sent His punishment, He included them in His punishment. Because when I abandon enjoining good and forbidding evil, you see, evil is a fire, and if you don't snuff it out, it just grows. And it will burn everything. It will burn you and me and my children and your children. And it will burn this whole earth as we're seeing today. Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar needs to be embedded in our societies, in our homes first, on our nafs, of course. Now, be careful. When I say Islam does not promote individualism, I mean Islam does not promote solely individualism. Of course, we are demanded and it's commanded of us to work on our nafs, but that does not mean that I abandon working on those around me also. Because it affects all of us. Sensitive topic, popular one, or not so popular one. And I guarantee you tonight, I'm going to get some complaints. But hijab, okay? And alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, most sisters here and in most communities that I visit, they practice hijab, yeah? The West has convinced you that hijab is an individual option. It's up to you if you want to wear hijab or not. And the sister will come and say, yeah, what's it to you if I don't wear hijab? I'm good. I pray. Say, that's good, sister. That is amazing. No, it's actually really good that you pray and you're a good sister, etc., etc. But sister, let me tell you, maybe for the first time as a male, and I'm very upfront and I'm very frank. Let me tell you why hijab is not an individual thing and does not just affect you, but affects everyone and everything around you. This young brother, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the way up until, because for a male, all the way up until he's about 80 or 90 years old, yeah? Males are creeps. Let's be frank. He's okay. He's at home. He's all right. Maybe he's even married. He's got a wife. Wakes up in the morning. He wants to go to his work. Like in my case, He needs to go to his hawza in the morning. And you've left your house dressed in whatever you feel comfortable dressed in. Now I got to deal with you, sister. I got to see you. I can't walk around my eyes and say, why don't you just lower your gaze? Yeah, okay, I'll lower my gaze once, twice, but I can't spend the whole day like this, walk in front of a car, get hit by a truck or something, because of you. Why? Lowering your gaze is supposed to be an exception, yeah? Not something I need to do all the time, all day. Soon we're going to be like horses. They used to put fenders on horses back in the days so that it can only walk straight. We're going to have to put some here and just keep walking down like this. Now I've seen you, sister. MashaAllah. You got it all going and whatever. You fix yourself up because you're going to work or to college or just going to go have lunch with your friends, and you've smacked all this perfume on and we can smell you from a mile away, and you got the big lips and whatever. And I've seen this, and it's implanted an image in my heart. And it's not just you. It's you and her and her and her, and I'm seeing this all damn day. And I got to go home. And I just got this wife there, and she's great. My wife's great, but I've seen all of this out there. Now it's causing problems for me. Now, this is what we say in Arabic, نص مصيبة, yeah? It's half of a calamity. نص مصيبة. What if you're not married? You're a young male that's not married. Oh, the trouble you're in now, yeah? Wallah, sisters, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you more later, inshallah, when the brothers aren't here, yeah? These guys complain to me all the time. We got problems. We got big, big problems, Sheikh. I don't know how to deal anymore. What do I do? Tell brother, we're telling him fast. He'll stay fasting all his life. Yeah? It's not going to work. Sister, help him. Wallah. You're killing him. These boys are dying out here. Wallah, they are. It's a dangerous battle. This is where hijab is not an individual thing. This is where now you are genuinely causing someone discomfort. When you, and forgive me for using this tone, when an individual is involuntarily aroused by another person, is that not a form of sexual harassment? Answer me. Involuntarily, I left my house, I'm going out to work. Someone has come out there without my permission. They've come and they've aroused me. They've moved some emotion within me without my permission. Is this not harassment? Are you not impeding on my personal rights here? This is where now hijab is not just your business, it's my business, it's his business, it's your business, it's everybody's business. Lack of it is corrupting you and me and everyone around me. I'll lower my gaze. Again, I said, I'm not going to spend my entire life looking at the ground. Otherwise, we're just going to lock ourselves up at home and that's it. And don't give me this is how I'm comfortable. No, it's not. Don't lie to us. We know you. You're our sisters, you're our wives, you're our mothers, you're our aunties, our cousins. We see the way you dress at home when you want to get comfortable. Biggest dags. Shirts 5 times their size. Yeah? Wallah. Pants, 3 of them can fit in it. That's how they dress when they want to be comfortable. And out in the street, when it's choking her, I'm comfortable. Like, you're not. We see you as soon as you get in the car or on the train or on the plane, you take them high heels off and your feet are swollen. And why you even do this to yourself? Why you even do this to yourself? Imagine how much time you'd save, how much you'd get done if you didn't have to spend 2-3 hours in the mirror. How many layers we got to put on our faces? It's really a problem. So when I enjoin good and forbid evil, and I've come here and I've told myself, and again, wallahi, please, forgive me. I'm not saying anything here out of malice. Yeah? And I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm just trying to draw the picture of how our individual behaviors affect society. Brothers, fathers, when I come and I start doing things like, for example, having an expensive mahar for my daughter. Yeah? This is so rampant in society, subhanallah. And our religion has told us, our Prophet has told us, our Imam has told us, our Imams, all of them, over and over again, do not be extravagant in mahr. Don't be extravagant in mahr. When I demand an excessive mahr, when I reject a good brother for my daughter, you think, oh, this is my choice, it's my opinion. I don't like the kid. I want my daughter to marry someone who's a doctor, a professor, an astronaut, you know? That's what I want. My daughter can only marry someone who's been to Mars, worked on the rover. That's it. Yeah? This is the attitude some of the fathers around here have. And you know what? Rightly so. Yeah, you've put in the effort, you've raised these beautiful daughters, yeah, and you want to look after her and make sure that she's safe. But when you have this attitude, and when he has this attitude, and he has this attitude, the effects it has on society is it drives the moral compass of the youth into a completely ungodly direction. They start to think that, you know what, if I want to marry the good girl, if I want to marry the pretty girl, if I want to marry so-and-so's daughter, doesn't care how close I am to Allah Azza wa Jal. He doesn't care about my prayers and my akhlaq. Yeah? I need to focus on the material stuff. I need to go out there and make that money. Halal means or haram means, it doesn't matter, but I got to go make that money in order for me to be accepted by Hajj Fulan. And we think it's okay because each to their own. Leave them alone. Let them do what they want. I don't see the corruption out there. Brothers, sisters, we are responsible. We are one body. Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, he narrates on behalf of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he says that the Islamic Ummah is like a body. You've all heard this hadith, yeah? It's like one body. When a part of it aches, the whole body feels it. Our societies are like this. We're one body. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, you guys don't have yet a massive drug problem. Okay? Speaking to the brothers, I know it exists and it's very small. So take my advice. Someone coming from Southwest Sydney, yeah? Someone coming from a city that has a drug epidemic in the Muslim Shia community that's led to gang violence, gang warfare, killings and slayings and executions, yeah? And Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Count your lucky stars, as they say, and thank Allah Azza wa Jal that hasn't reached here. You know how we got to where we got, where I'm from? Each to their own. Each to their own. We abandoned Amr al-Ma'ruf wa Nahi al-Munkar. We welcomed in the drug dealer, the Shia drug dealer, welcomed into our masajid. They would donate to the masajid. Some of us were foolish enough that, you know, when you see Fulan, the drug dealer, the gangster, you want to run across the street just to shake his hand so people can see you talking to him. Say, oh, wallah, you're so connected. Ahsant. MashaAllah. We welcomed him into our homes. We attended their homes. No one addressed them because we feared them. Because Western culture, hip-hop culture, rap culture taught us that these guys are it. Yeah? And the parents, unfortunately, because some of them, wal-'iyadhu billah, saw the money that this was bringing in, turned a blind eye. I remember a very funny story. About 16, 17, and where I live, this kid, around about my age, man, this kid, I hated him, yeah? Because I'd be waking up in the morning, working at my dad's supermarket. My dad had me open the supermarket 5:45 on a Sunday morning. So I got to leave the house about 5 a.m. And I'm leaving the house, bro, and this kid's coming home in his Mercedes. He's my age. He's just coming home, and I'm going to work. I hated him. He said, look at this kid. What's he doing? How do you get this $70,000, $80,000 car? And I'm working for $8 an hour. Yeah? Selling bananas and... Anyway, the years went by. Boom, this kid gets raided. Cops raid the house, drag him out by the hair. He's cuffed and his mom's at the front, her hijab and everything. Such an embarrassing sight, yeah? hijab and everything, and screaming, my son, oh, my son alone. And all the neighbors are out. We all know what her son does. Haji, what's the problem? My son, what's he done? Nothing, hasn't done anything. My son is an apprentice plumber. He makes good money. He makes good money. No, Haji. When your 15-year-old son comes home, and I'm not even exaggerating, when your 15-year-old son comes home with a $60,000 watch, yeah, you have this responsibility to say to him, hey, what are you doing? Where'd you get this from? She never did. Why? Because he was buying her the stuff. He was sending her to Lebanon on holidays every year so he could do whatever he wanted without her supervision. And he kept doing it till he was about 17, 18, 19. Now he's not only a dealer, he's a murderer too now. And he's walking the streets, he's always strapped, he's got to be strapped. And worse than that, he's polluting the youth. He's selling this rubbish to the Shia of Al-Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. He's making his money off our misery. Our kids are dying in their beds, overdosing at home, going to sleep, not waking up. So he can line his pockets and he can drive that car and he can send his mom away. And what are we doing? Oh, brother, let me shake your hand. Let me take a photo with you. Scum of the earth. The Shi'i drug dealer is scum of the earth. He's the enemy within. He is worse than ISIS and the Zionists. Those are evident enemies. This is an enemy from the inside, rotting the camp of Al-Hussein alayhi salam. This is an enemy from the inside, killing the future soldiers of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. We need to be firm with him. We need to enjoin good and forbid evil with him. We need to not smile in his face. We need to not shake his hand. We need to not attend his majalis, not go to his house, not attend their weddings and their gatherings and their funerals. We need to, we must, we have a duty towards our communities. We need to turn them out, excommunicate them, let them know they are not welcome here. Let them know that they are the enemy. If we don't, we're killing our youth. We kill the camp of Al-Hussein alayhi salam. This camp that tonight, inshallah, we commemorate. Let's go to Karbala, where Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar was embodied. And did Al-Hussein alayhi salam and Ashab al-Hussein rise for anything but enjoining good and forbidding evil? Salamullahi alayhi. True. He has this small group of companions. But let's take a look at who these companions are. When I take a bird's eye look of the camp of Al-Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, I see nothing but the nur of the light of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa. All of Islam, all of religion is embodied in this camp. There are no ashab like the ashab of Imam al-Hussein. What a beautiful camp. If you watch it on the night of Ashura, this camp. Our narrations say if you watch them from afar, you would hear them like the humming of bees. Tahleel and tasbih and Quran. This camp has the likes of Zuhair, of John, Muslim ibn Hawsajah. This camp has the most loyal of loyal faces on the face of the planet. At their time, nobody was like them. These are men and women who abandoned the dunya, all of its pleasures. Some of them left their children and their wives and their mothers and their fathers just to be with Abu Abdullah. knowing definitely that by joining this camp, they would be killed. And given the option, several times Al-Hussein alayhi salam gives them the option. Says to his companions, they don't want you, they want me. This is the darkness of the light. This is the darkness of the night. Use it as a cover, don't feel ashamed. More than that, I have removed you from your duty towards me. If Allah Azza wa Jal asks me, I will tell him you are the best of companions. Even if you leave, you have earned yourselves Jannah just by coming. Now leave. And on the night of Ashura, we'll emphasize more on this camp. But let's look at one or two of these companions. Amongst these companions is Muslim ibn Awsaj. And on the day of Ashura, when Al-Hussein alayhi salam's camp is getting ready for Salat, Umar ibn Sa'd announces to his army, give me my bow and arrow and let me fire the first arrow at the camp of Al-Hussein. Subhanallah. Look at Umar ibn Sa'd. He wants to pride himself. He says to them, go and bear witness in front of Yazid that I was the first to fire an arrow at Al-Hussein alayhi salam. And the arrows start to fall on the camp of Al-Hussein alayhi salam. Our narrations say, most if not all of the companions of him, Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, were struck by an arrow. And when the arrows began to fall, Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam, he stands and he addresses his companions. فقال الحسين لأصحابه قوموا رحمكم الله قوموا يا كرام إلى الموت الذي لا بد منه هذه سهام رسل القوم إليكم هذه السهام رسل القوم إليكم فحمل أصحاب الحسين حملة واحدة. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he says, rise, rise, O dignified ones. These arrows are the messengers. They're the messengers of the Qawm to you. They're calling you. Rise towards death that there is no running from. Look what Al-Hussein alayhi salam is calling them to. Rise to an inevitable death, he's saying to these people. An inevitable death. And they stand collectively. And they rush out and they fight. And in the first batch, over 50 of these companions are killed. And amongst them is who? Muslim ibn Awsaj. Muslim ibn Awsaj is one of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And he is one of the greatest companions of Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Muslim ibn Awsaj, al-Hussein alayhi salam, was aggrieved by his loss. He goes out and he fights these people on his own, one-on-one. He has nothing but the safety and the love of Al-Hussein alayhi salam in his heart until he is struck down off his horse and he falls down. And like all the companions of Al-Hussein alayhi salam, when he falls, he calls out, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Al-Hussein alayhi salam comes towards him. فَمَشَى إِلَيْهِ الْحُسَيْنِ. Al-Hussein starts walking towards Muslim. فَمَشَى إِلَيْهِ الْحُسَيْنِ. وَمَعَهُ حَبِيبٌ بن مظاهر. And with him is Habib ibn Madahir, the lifetime friend of Muslim. فوقف الحسين عليه السلام عند رأسه وقرأ قوله تعالى من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. Hussein alayhi salam, he stands above the head of Muslim and he recites this verse. He says, and amongst them is men who were true and firm to their promise to Allah Azza wa Jal. Amongst them is those who have gone, like Muslim, who gave their life for Allah Azza wa Jal. And amongst them is like Habib, who are waiting to follow. وَمَا بَدَّلُوا تَبْدِيلًا, and they did not exchange their oath of Allah Azza wa Jal with anything else. Now Muslim is breathing his last breaths. His old friend, his companion, think of your best friend, your lifelong friend, has sat down and he's trying to catch the last words of Muslim. Habib consoles Muslim and he says, لَقَدْ عَزَّ عَلَيَّ مَصْرَعَكِ يَا مُسْلِمْ أَبْشِرْ بِالْجَنَّةِ. Your death is hard on me, O Muslim. Go forth towards heaven. Muslim says, بَشَّرَكَ اللَّهُ بِالْخَيْرِ يَا أَخِي. May Allah Azza wa Jal grant you great news, O brother. فَقَالَ Habib says to him, he says, Muslim, I would have asked you, what do you advise me to do regarding your family and your wealth? But I know I'll be following you in a few hours or in a few moments. In his last breath, Muslim opens his eyes. فَفَتَّحَ مُسْلِمْ عَيْنَيْهِ وَقَالَ. Imagine this. Muslim is now bleeding out. He's about to die. He knows he's departing this world. ففتح مسلم عينيه وقال يا حبيب أوصيك بهذا الغريب خيرا. Oh Habib, my only last wish is that you look after this stranger. And he points towards Al-Husayn alayhi salam. وأشار بيده إلى الحسين قاتل دونه ولا تقصر عن نصرته. Fight instead of him and do all you can to assist him. And he closes his eyes and he departs this world. And now Habib ibn Madahir is left in this world without Muslim. But Habib has one mission, and he states this mission on the night of Ashura. The night of Ashura, Habib ibn Madahir, brothers and sisters, is an old man. But he is the flag bearer of the army of Al-Husayn alayhi salam. On the night of Ashura, Habib, he hears Sayyida Zainab alayha salam conversing with Imam al-Husayn. She says to him, Akhi, have you tested your companions? Have you tested their loyalty? Husayn says, yes, by Allah. And I found them the best of companions. Habib goes back rushing to the rest of the companions. He says to them, Mawlati Zainab is afraid. She's afraid. She thinks that, La samahallah, we're not going to do what we need to do tomorrow. That we are not going to support Al-Husayn. Habib gathers the companions. He tells them in the middle of the night, dress up in your armor and your swords. Bring your weapons. And let us parade our strength in front of Zainab alayhi salam just to reassure her heart. This is Habib. On the day of Ashura, Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, he looks at Habib and he sees him crying. He says to him, Habib, أذكرت الدار والأهل. Did you remember your homeland and your family? Is that why you're crying? Habib, please leave. If this is why you're crying, I give you permission to leave. Habib says, my master, by Allah, I have not thought about my family or my homeland, but the sight of this one has broken my heart. And he points towards Zainab alayhi salam. Husayn alayhi salam, he turns around and he sees Sayyida Zainab salamullahi alayhi. Habib says, my master, I cannot fathom what's going to happen to her after our death. But I cannot stand it any longer. Allow me. And he takes permission from Al-Husayn alayhi salam and he rushes onto the battlefield. An old man, they say in the narrations, he was so old that his eyebrows were falling down on his eyes. Habib ibn Madahir, he takes by foot onto the battlefield and he takes the sword and he addresses the qawm and he announces himself. All of Kufa knows Habib ibn Madahir, the great warrior of Kufa. and he challenges them to a duel. One by one he fights. This old man fighting for the love of Hussein alayhi salam, until one of the qawm, la'anahullah, comes from behind him and strikes him on the head. Al-Habib ibn Madahir falls down onto the ground. The blood of his head mixes with the sand. In his last breaths, as he is kicking in the sand, he calls out, Mawlaya Hussein adrikni. My master Hussein, come to me. Hussein alayhi salam comes rushing towards Habib, fights off those that are around him, takes Habib's head, places it in his lap, congratulates Habib. Says to him, Habib, you have done well. May Allah Azza wa Jal raise you in ranks. You were a reciter of the Quran. You would recite the entire Quran in one night. Send my grandfather my salams, Ya Habib, and tell him that I will shortly follow. And surely, Abu Abdullah alayhi salam held the head of Habib ibn Madahir in his lap. But on the day of Ashura, Hussein alayhi salam leaves his tent and his family. His companions called out, Ya Abu Abdullah. Hussein alayhi salam had no one to call out to. On the day of Ashura, he stands and he calls to his companions after they are all slaughtered. Ya Habib, Ya Muslim, Ya John, Ya Abis, where are you all? Wake up from your slumber. The son of the daughter of your prophet is alone. Wake up and defend the daughters of Rasulullah. Why do I call you and you not hear me? On the day of Ashura, Al-Hussein alayhi salam has no lap to place his head in. All he has is the knees of shimmer in his chest, and the cries of the children and the women. And the last companion, Dhul Janah, his horse, even Dhul Janah has left Hussein and gone back to the camp alone. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة بمحمد وعترته الطاهرة صلواتك عليه وعليهم أجمعين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. If we can face the Qibla for Dua al-Hujjah. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. All together loudly please. اللهم كن حجتي وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أزور سيدي ومولاي ومعتمدي ورجائي، ذخري وذخيرتي في آخرتي ودنياي، الإمام الحسين عليه السلام زيارة مني ونيابة عن والدي وعن والد والدي وعن إخواني وإخواتي وعن جميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات قربة إلى الله تعالى. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله، السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله، السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله، السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله، السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله، السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام ولي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى، السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور، أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين، فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع، صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم، بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله، بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض، فلعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتهيأت لقتالك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. قصدت حرمك وأتيت إلى مشهدك، أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لديه أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة جميعا. السلام على الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين السلام على أخي الحسين أبي الفضل العباس، السلام على أخت الحسين أم المصائب زينب، ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.